And without further ado, I'd like to introduce Shelley Chen, who is probably the 4,000th NYU student to come present amazing games here. And she's going to talk about her project, A Memoir Blue, which has been playable down in the bar. And I guess that's about it. And then following Shelley's presentation is going to be Julian Cordero, who's going to be talking about Levedad, which I think was at the party on Friday night.
Yep.
And yeah, we'll say more about that in a little bit. So Shelley, why don't you go ahead and take it away, no puking, and we'll see how it goes.
You guys hear me? Hi everyone, I'm Shelley. I'm one of the creators of A Memoir Blue. Thanks you all for coming, and thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure. So today I'm gonna talk about how we started the project and how we make this project happen. So A Memoir Blue is an interactive story about a swimming champion that recalls her childhood memory of her mother. It's a narrative game, but there's no words in there. So it's definitely like a weird aspect of a narrative game. Inside has like mixed media. There's like 2D and 3D stuff. So I will take you guys to take a look of our gameplay footage, so it tells a better idea of what kind of game it is. So here we go.
These days pass so quickly, and the memories I once had are still alive inside me, are still inside my head. You shine bright, deep, still around. Every word you said. You are never really far. You're still speaking with my breath. You never left me. This is still your home.
So this, let's see. So for this game, it was our first title. So before I work on this project, I was working on many different large-scale games. I made like MMO, and I also made like turn-based strategy in a couple studio in New York City. And I will introduce my teammates. So after we made this project Memoir Blue at NYU Game Center for our thesis, the project got into a couple of festivals, and we also got onto many media like globally. So I then started a company called Cloisters, including like 2 other members in this company. So Kevin Zhang, he is my classmate from NYU. He is in charge of coding, tech art, and in gameplay design. Morgan Winchell is my classmate from college, that she is our animator. And myself, I'm the team lead of the project. I do art, I do narrative design. Since I'm wearing so many hats on my head, I start to slack off on my art stuff. Then Kevin had to take it on. So thanks to him, doing a lot of my work. Our team is also very lucky to have a lot of supporter behind. Our executive producer is Sam Barlow. We also have like a couple experienced developers behind us, such as Vector Park, Patrick Smith, and like Benefati and many other like great developers helping us and guiding us to make this project. So in terms of the team, the company location, that's one of the questions I got a lot during the festivals. We're actually all around the world, even we have a small group of people. Our sound contractor, Ray, is in Canada. Animator Morgan is in Seattle area. And Kevin, due to the new law of immigration, that he got kicked out by the country. And he then moved back to China. And myself, to reduce the cost of the company, I moved back to Taiwan. So the HQ is actually in Taiwan, but everybody is not there. It's just me. So as I mentioned earlier, that Memoir Blue was a student thesis, and I was very firm about making a narrative game since I said it before that I'm so tired of making MMO and turn-based strategy. I just basically wanted to make it happen. So I grabbed my two other classmates from NYU, including Kevin, that I was just like, I want to make a narrative game. I don't really care like what you guys want to make. I just want to make that happen. So we started this like weird prototype that it has like two girls that try to recall memories. And it was a very ambitious project. Especially like the art aspect. There's like one character with long hair and long skirt, which is just insane to simulating it inside like a game engine. I was so glad that we're not making this game. The mechanic was heavily involved with like camera swapping, so it's still like very heavy mechanic game, but less like a narrative game. So during that time, my job was mainly doing concept art, making art assets, and doing storyboard. I think we at least threw away like over 20 prototypes back then within like 2 months. And we're just always arguing about what we wanted to make and what's the story aspect and stuff. And in the end, the team eventually split up because it's like back then it's just really hard because just someone had to do writing and someone had to like consider about VO. We just don't have the same vision shared together. So Kevin remained to be with me, and the other teammate like split apart to make something else. And in the end of the thesis class, me and Kevin has 0 project, and we don't have anything to show. So we had to go back to the scratch board and make something for the thesis. So I grabbed all the reference that we were being very inspired from to restart a prototype. Back then I was thinking to make something like Haruki Murakami's short story. I wanted to make something like half dream and half reality and with an ambiguous ending. And also like we're heavily influenced by the classic animation shorts, Daughter and Father, and House of Smoke Cube, which has like very good storytelling, beautiful, beautiful film. They literally made me like cry so bad when I was in college. And also Kentucky Route Zero, one of the most like magical games that I play. We wanted to capture like the cinematic camera movement in there. We want the magical realism in there. And also, like, our gameplay is heavily inspired by Vector Park's work, Windowsill. We want the playfulness in there, and we're also looking for like this experience that is always like every single part in the game is very refreshing. So this is overall inspiration for us. Boop. So. Since we're making a narrative game, we still need a narrative story going on. In the beginning, I was thinking to make a story about the mother passed away. So we interview a lot of people that was a similar experience, and we trying to make a game out of it. But it was just very hard because for storyteller, I think the feeling of how we understand the story is very important in order to tell a good story. And I wasn't confident enough to tell a story about my mother passed away. And my mom also against that idea very badly. So that was not gonna happen. And then all of a sudden, there's a memory pop out in my head. It was about my childhood memory with my mom, which it was when I was a little girl that we took a trip together. We hopped on a train and we went to the south of the country. There's ocean there, there's an aquarium there, there's a lot of sea animals, there's also a carousel. The memory is beautiful. It was always like one of my happiest memory. And then it turns out that I mentioned the memory to my mom, and she replied me like, "Oh, actually, we're running away from home because we're trying to piss your dad off," and it works really well actually. And then it was just shock for me because I wasn't expecting there was the truth of the memory, and at the same time I thought it was really funny. It's such a thing that we will do to piss someone off. Anyways, but the thing is, I just found it fascinating that one thing can be viewed from two sides and is extremely different. And it just, like, I want to make this into a game because it just seems different than whatever is existing right now. So I brought the story to Kevin. I was like, I want to make this into a game. Let's make this into a game. So that's how we set on the story. That's a lot of talking. But after we had a story in line, I feel like there's still something missing in the theme of the game. So I literally spent my entire night thinking in the bathtub, thinking about what we should put it in the game to help to tell the story. And the more stressed I am, the more hot water I need. So I fill out the entire bathtub and I just focusing there. And suddenly there's like a feeling of how I'm inside the water. Then it's very close to a feeling that when I feel emotional and when I feel like crying, it's just like a pressure that pressed against my body that's so similar as like how I was feeling back then. So, and I started to think about why not make water the element of our storytelling mechanic, because water is formless, it's perfect for the idea, and also this sunken down feeling, just I cannot get rid of it. So I got really excited and I started looking for more reference on how water can tell a story. And at that time, this very coincidentally, the movie Shape of Water trailer was just released. And I found the shot is just strikingly beautiful and expressive. It's like the moment that she draws her fingers on top of the glass and the driplet was dancing around her finger because she was in love. And then her feeling like reflects on the water driplet. So this moment is so hard to capture, and I was so inspired by this thing. And I just set my mind, and I told my coder, Kevin, was like, I want to make this happen. And he definitely got freaked out because it's really hard to do water dynamics and stuff. And still, I don't care. I was like, I just want to make this happen. So we started our new prototype. As you can see, I try to whip this environment up within 2 days. And I'm still using the old character from like the previous project back then. And so the mechanic back then was like you sunk one thing down and the narration would show up. And it was we show it to the school, show it to the classmate, and we got some interesting feedback. There were literally bugs everywhere, and people complain about the writings, even as a placeholder. And there's a classmate that told me that the art looks like Counter-Strike. And I'm a little bit confused about that part, but I think that's valid. So, so we were kind of disencouraged by the comments and the feedback of it. But at the same time, we know we're so close to what we were looking for. And we just have to dig deeper into the concept. So we watch more movies. And I pulled out this one of the movie that I really like is called Ida. It was a very simple movie. I mean, like, it has a very minimal script and dialogue inside this movie. And it just beautifully made. Like, they rely their storytelling on their camera composition, the actress acting, and also like the pace of the movie. It's like they just realized like 3 things to tell like this beautiful like family story. So we were really inspired by it. And we were literally thinking like maybe the good way of doing this game is to get rid of text. Because I think when human being recalling a memory, it's always very quiet. Like when you think of something, time seems like it's stopping, and you're thinking about like everything is happening in the silence. So maybe for this case, the words are only getting our way. So we made this very dangerous decision to get rid of text, despite the fact that we wanted to show our own way to express emotion and stuff. So we finally got a prototype of this wordless narrative game. We definitely went into a like a very, very weird direction, and it just seems very niche. But at the same time, the most important thing is we're very satisfied with it. Like, Kevin's always looking for a very abstract experience. He enjoying the mundaneness of every single aspect of like a lot of films, and then he wanted to put the feeling inside of this game. And myself, I'm just happy because it's a very special personal story to me. And at the same time, that I can get to do a storytelling game by using my art skill. So we slowly put Memoir Blue together by this fact. So these are the current in-game screenshots, and I really hope it doesn't look like Counter-Strike anymore, or else I don't know what to do. I have to hire someone else to do it for me. And I'm gonna share with you guys like how we build the narrative and how we build the gameplay by using our special method. So as I talked about before, the way that we want to make the style of storytelling has to be close to recall a memory. And since we really rely on the communication on a lot of like camera movement, a lot of colors, a lot of animation to tell the story, we design our game based on like frame by frame storyboard. So myself will go into and paint these storyboards. And one thing is huge different is than before. What I did is like I use a lot of colors. So it's also heavily inspired by like movies like Blade Runner. Like every time when you enter a different area, there's always like a different color scene that you know that you're in a different world. And I wanted to bring that method into our game. So basically, we will build on top of the storyboard that I'm making. And this method also helping with this like dream feel that I want for the game, because when people usually dreams and dreams, like you jump from another dream, that usually is like a very seamless environmental change where some character just all of a sudden change the role. Then you know you're in another dream, but it's so subtle of the change. So by using this method, we can simply do like very similar stuff to that experience. So here's an example how we do our game. In the beginning, I will paint down the storyboard, and we can see our character Miriam looks pretty pissed off here. She's not happy when she received the silver medal, and the camera zooms out and zooms to a TV. She's actually on the TV, so this is the first intro sequence. So after we set with what we wanted to do, and we know what's needed in the scene, we then, the animator start doing the blocking to try to capture like a seamless movement and to make sure that she look as pissed as possible. And Kevin will start doing prototyping based on 2D art. So he will grab my stuff and start doing the click for the flash. So thinking about like what is the player position in this game and stuff. And then myself will start like cooperating with Kevin. We will make sure like the player's always in like a very interesting point of view for the game. And I will start making like assets what is needed in there, such as like background or like anything that is anything that's needed in the assets wise. And so the final product usually looks like this. After like putting things together, there's still a lot of work going on. Like every single thing in our game is by different lighting. So I have to relight every single shot when there's a new shot happening. And Kevin had to make sure like the interaction is as natural as possible because we don't want people. We want this feeling of the cinematic and also the gameplay is very, very similar because we wanted to make this more like a feeling that you're viewing a movie instead of like you're playing a game kind of game. So, boop. And earlier I talked about that there's two perspectives in this game. So what happened was we have a 3D point of world and we also have a 2D animation on the side. The 2D represent the childhood memory. So this is kind of a challenge that how we put like two really extremely different style together. And so I proposed a way that was that can combine the two extremely art style together. Since back in the old time, people have been doing it a lot. Sometimes it can be an artistic choice. Sometimes it can be like a budget thing. So to save budget, there's not enough money to pay animators. Then use live action to interact with like animated characters. Or like for artistic choices can be like the movie Memories that there's like 3 extremely different art style but they're in the same package, just like talking about same subject for for the movie Memories. So I thought it would be great if we try to do something like this to help the player will be helping the 3D characters like exploring the memories and the 2D will be the memory itself. So our animators start designing and capture the baby version of Miriam. She uses very cutesy and very round animation style. Everything seems a little bit bouncy, a little bit playful because we wanted to maintain the feeling of how innocent her point of view is. It's like this is a very happy memory to her. So everything's supposed to be like very nice and very round, and she's always happy. And we have to differentiate from the 3D world, which is kind of like a little bit depressed, a little bit like moody and stuff. And after she finished the clip of the 2D, we'll then put them inside the game. So not only this is just an animation playing, but it's part of the interaction. So in the shot that you interact with the newspaper, and it will reveal the 2D part. So you almost like uncover this like very long time mystery that happened in the past. So this idea not only like fulfill the goal of having two narratives going on at the same time, but at the same time, people start to pay attention to what was happening, why there's two storylines going on. Well, that's pretty much what we wanted. And interaction-wise, so the game also let the player to interactive like dream like object in like a very tactile way. So each interaction is almost like a key. So every time when you use the key to open the door, there's a new interaction showing up. So we try to put as very minimal like messages before in each interaction. So we want player to think about why things are happening and how things are happening, so they can like in their head they can come up with their own story. So for example, in this shot, it's supposed to support the idea of the time lapse. So most of the time players are stuck at this level because they're clicking everywhere. They click on the billboard, they click on the crane, but they will never thought about to click on the sun. So when they realized they can control the sun and control the time of the game, then that was the moment they're thinking about like why I can control the sun, why I'm doing it to control the sun. So it basically like it's just a very simple idea behind it, just like you were trying to help to make the time pass forward. So even though there's like meaning behind like each interaction, if we also don't mind if player doesn't want to think at all, like if they don't want to use their brain, they can just simply like treat this like a toy or like I don't know, like an art book. So you can just read through the pretty like the pages and stuff. It's always fine with us. It's also interesting that players sometimes came up with their own story and to tell us, and which is not far away from what we're trying to say. So it was actually very interesting too. Okay, so that's pretty much about like how we make the game like design wise. And as Adam said, the demo is downstairs at the arcade. I hope you guys get a chance to enjoy it. And if you have any feedback, please don't shy away to message us about it. So I hope you guys all enjoy this talk. And thank you for listening. And I'll be happy to answer any question if you have any.
Thank you so much, Shelley.
So much.
Do we have any questions? Shelley, I have a question.
Okay.
Were there things, I really like the design story of kind of figuring out like, oh, let's do this. Oh, crap, this thing's in the way. Take it out. Oh, no, this thing's in the way. Okay, take that out. Oh, no, this thing's like, and kind of like narrowing it down to like something that, hasn't been done before and that isn't getting in the way of itself anymore. Were there things where, I think especially for like language, where you were like, okay, you know what? No words. The words are getting in the way. Were there other sort of like side effects of doing that? Like, oh, there was there was a transition or there was a structure of the game that was going to be able to use words, and oh no, now we don't have them. Or was it really just like oh, good, they're gone?
From my perspective, is basically, oh, good, they're gone. But like, we do get feedback like people is confusing in the beginning. They're like, I don't know what's going on. I wish there's more narration going on, and a lot of things that we're saving in the back for the later gameplay. That these things will start revealing what's going to happen. And I also don't. I wasn't thinking it was a. Honestly, I don't think it's a problem for like people don't understand the narrative in the beginning, because a lot of filmmakers from back then, like even like Tati, like his playtime, that movie, in the beginning of 30 minutes, I have no idea what's going on. Everything seems like to be a huge mess, and you just don't get what the character trying to do. But slowly, in the end of the movie, everything come back together, and you get what is happening. I think that's the thing that I also wanted to. Maybe it will be a good idea to have in our game if that's the way that the player wanted to take the route. So yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you. Any other questions? I know it's early for questions, you guys. And nobody puked, and I am proud of you. Okay, I do have one question. Hang on.
You mentioned that you got kind of stuck conceptually and you had to dig deeper. I was wondering, aside from watching movies, were there other things that helped get through that?
I think reading novels is also a thing that I do. So I basically read even more Haruki Murakami's novel, and I try to find out the pattern of how he make things like so like intricate. And I think for Kevin wise, he probably just write a lot of weird words on his notebook that I have no idea what he's doing, and all of a sudden he showed this idea to me. Like it seems like a mystery on his side, but for myself, it's definitely like all kinds of like different art, movies, not short stories. Illustration book is always like the stuff I go for, but majority is like the movies that inspire me the most.
So after you got that weird feedback about Counter-Strike, I didn't really see that, but did they explain to you why that was, and what did you do like to make visual refinements to try to get away from that? Like, were there any specifics that they told you that you changed, or?
I didn't know what to react when that person said the word Counter-Strike. We both basically just freeze in time. I was like, how? Why? Why? How? It just I don't know, it makes no sense. I guess he's seeing some part like saying like the visual is not polished enough, but it's just like the idea of like, I think people should understand what is work in progress. That's just like something I rip in like two nights to put it in there just to serve the demo. But we then I just basically spend more time to polish the visual and ask a lot of people, is this looks like Counter-Strike? Please tell me it doesn't look like it. But people always just found that question a little bit like very funny. But yeah, I have no idea why. I don't know.
It was probably the earlier build with all the machine guns in it is probably what tipped him off.
So I haven't gotten to play through it all yet, but from what I've seen and everything, it seems like sound is really important to the experience. I was wondering if you could just talk a little bit about the sound design and the process of that.
So we trying to not put a lot of music in our game. There's only one song that I played during the game demo clip. The reason why is I think in a lot of time that it was actually inspired by how Kentucky Route Zero did their sound. There's like the dryness of it that seems very like make you feel a little bit tense, but at the same time it's just normal things that are making sound. So I thought that was an interesting part of the direction to take on, and even I wanted to make the sound very simple and minimal. There's only like ambience and stuff. There are a lot of composer approach us and be like, wow, if you have my music in there, they will make the game like really, really good. But the thing is like, I just thought like, things should be quiet so people can focus on enjoy this world. Just like how when I play Kentucky Route Zero, I always like feel very engaged with it just because how simple the sound effect is. So me and my team just decided that we want to keep it simple. But the reason we added the one song is because it was inspired by the game Seller's Dream. This is like an app game that you exploring and go through different levels. And every day there's a new song in there, and I just love that. And I thought like, if we're not gonna have any music, at least I want a song to be in there. This also shows like it helped to show the emotion part. So compared to that very nice melody and there's like a dryness of the games, I thought it would be interesting mixture for our game.
All right. Let's do one more question.
The part with the interactive sunset, I think stands out to me as an especially tonally appropriate and aesthetically beautiful part of the game. And I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit more about the process of how you came to that, because it's not really something I've seen in other games or art pieces.
Yeah. So the sunset idea was an old idea of mine when we were in the art class. So we're doing a game about light and shadow. It's me and Kevin again, that poor guy. So it was our teammates, of course. At that time, I proposed like dragging the sun up and down, then you can change the shadow to manipulate, like we wanted to make puzzle out of it. But unfortunately, that part didn't even make it into the project that we were making. So as stubborn as I am, once again, me and Kevin decided to put that part inside, because when we were thinking about like how to make the room fill with water, how to do like tell people that there's time passing through, and then we just thought it was only natural the sun setting, so it was like around like afternoon the water started leaking, and then slowly the room is full with water because it has been a while. So that will only make sense is like it's nighttime, so things get calmed down and the room is full with water. So it was actually a combination of our old ideas that we didn't make it in, and then we bring it again to this game to try to make it part of the narrative, to try to make sense and stuff.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Shelley. Quick round of applause, everyone.
Thank you.
I'm going to change over to the audio. Perfect. Okay. Next up, we have Julian Cordero, who's going to talk about his game Levedad. And I think we've press ganged Shelley into playing a little bit of it while Julian walks us through some of what he's been up to. So yeah, let's hear it for Julian and Levedad.
I'm gonna have the background music. I'm gonna do a quick introduction to some of my previous games I've made, and then I'm gonna go into the process of how I went to making Levedad while Shelley is kind enough to play it. So yeah, follow me on social media for Sol Importa. Um, and I was born in Quito, and I grew up there in Quito, Ecuador. And I moved to New York to study at the NYU Game Center, um, which I will be graduating next May. Then, yeah, so I'm gonna go through some of the other games I've made. Oh, and I'm also part of this. We just started this like collective thing with some other people from NYU. We've kind of been sort of quiet so far, but we have a lot of cool projects coming along the way. So keep your eyes peeled and follow all of those people. Yeah. Okay. This is the first. This is the first sort of game I was happy with. I made this for a game jam, absent-minded city gazing, and basically you just like move along like a series of flat environments, which is all like done with like rotoscoped art, and you move along, and then you can also like walk, and you follow this character, and I liked how it like it added this like the walking like forward like into like the background sort of added like this sort of three-dimensionality to the art, and so yeah, that was like the first project I was kind of happy with. This is another game I made for a game jam. It's called Open World, and basically this game is about like collecting. You follow the screen that tells you where these like red cubes are, and you have to like collect them, and then like they like slowly cloud the screen the more you collect them. But it's like kind of an annoying task, and it's like sort of about like trying to enjoy the beach, but like being constantly distracted by this annoying task. This is the Twine game I made. This was made for a narrative design class at NYU, and the prompt for this was just to make a Twine game, and I couldn't, like, I don't think I'm very good with like putting text in games. I never know how to use it, so I had struggles like trying to figure out what to make. So I ultimately ended up making like a Twine walking sim. I have this like recurring method of generating ideas, which is like when I don't know what to do, I just like look through my pictures and like my photo albums on my phone, and I seem to have this phase where I just like took pictures of myself while walking like down into the floor. So I thought it was time to finally use them, and I laid them out in this like Twine game, so people would like walk and then like look up and have like read thoughts and then like look at other stuff. This is another game I made for that class. It's Ajolote, and it's based on a short story by Julio Cortázar, who's an Argentinian writer that has been, I guess, very inspiring to my work. And this was made with Rahul Yoshi, John Samson, and Justin Ha. And it's about a guy who basically stares at an ajolote all day and then goes back and reflects upon it. This is an interesting project. I worked with Rick Gillis, who like funds workings, and he's also a member of the Big Bag Collective I mentioned. Basically, when I convinced Rick to come to Ecuador and sort of like try to like jam out a game, and we ended up making this it's like a set of connected spaces. Constructed over the course of 7 weeks, which is how long he was there, and we attempted to like give like equal, like somehow represent the process of making it and give that equal footing to like the actual like final product. And what we did was we made a new room every week based on their experiences from that week, like just being there. So it's like. it's sort of like a travel game for like his experience visiting Ecuador for the first time, and then my experience going back to Ecuador after like spending a long time in New York. Here's some more pictures from the project. Basically, what we did that was interesting. That was like we released a new version on like itch every week, and then and they would like build up on the previous version, so we added a new space to it. But the thing we did is like we sort of like broke the older versions on purpose. So like we decided to like overwrite the prefabs with like each new space that we made. So for example, if we needed a new chair, like if we're making this car and we needed like the seat for the car, instead of just making a new prefab, we like took the chair we had from before and like just changed the model. So that meant that this was the new chair we had, which fit perfectly in the car, but for all the previous places where that chair appeared, it was like it was kind of broken and messy because it wasn't the same chair. And that was an interesting process because we didn't want to touch those previous wicks, but like we wanted the new stuff to like affect what we had done before and the way we you perceive the stuff we'd done before. So yeah, we experimented with a bunch of weird mechanics like this and like weird narrative techniques. And yeah, it's kind of hard to play now because of how broken it is, but like you can still experience it, and like I feel like just like if you take any version of it, it's like still an interesting playthrough. This is something I worked on recently with Kaz Govadi, who's like the Static Man. He's also a member of Big Bag. And what you do here is you like just walk around an environment and record samples, and then you go back and like play with this like weird like obtuse but cool machine that sort of lets you do sequences and make like smaller little like snippets of a song. And yeah, we're still like sort of working on it, so I think that's going well. So this is another game I'm working on right now. It's called Bardot, and Bardot is like an Ecuadorian band. Basically, like the story for this is that there's like almost like no game development happening in Ecuador. Like there's no like game development scene, so this isn't like the ideal situation for me, like going back and trying to work on stuff. But it also means that a lot of people are like super excited about it because it's also like super new. So like I showed like a few of the stuff I had been working, and like this band approached me, and like they were super interested in like making some sort of like interactive music video for it. So we started doing that, and it's been super nice because they like let me like they've given me a lot of creative freedom about it. So yeah, it's not out yet, but it's basically like you're just like flying around, and then you go down in these scenes, and it plays back the music from the album they're about to release, and you're just like seeing the songs in like from a different manner, from a different perspective. And yeah, I like working on this project because of the project itself, but also like I like doing stuff like this in Ecuador where you don't really see this kind of development happening. I guess like one of my ideally I would sort of like help create like a indie like development scene over there at some point in my life, but like this kind of stuff is like I guess good because people are excited about it. And this is a project I'm working on now. This is like the biggest. It's very early in development, and it's a game about like about soccer and the social ramifications of it. Yeah, it's still pretty early on in development, so I'm not gonna talk much about it, but yeah, that's the plan. And yeah, that brings me to Levedad. Basically, this game started also in a class. The prompt was to make an autobiographical game, and as I said before, like I when I struggle with like thinking out about ideas, I just look at my old pictures. So I was looking at my old pictures, and I found like hundreds of these. Yeah, well, this picture I took after making the game, but basically, well, and most of these pictures were taken from like a trip, like a road trip I took with my dad and my sister, and there was something about like looking at these pictures and like just remembering taking them that intrigued me, that I wasn't really sure what it was, like what was so interesting about, like, because I don't even think they like look particularly beautiful. Like they're nice in their own way, but there's something about just the act of doing it and like the experience of like seeing them that is interesting, that I didn't know what it was. So I sort of like wanted to explore that and try to figure out why I like these pictures so much, and so I made a game to do that. Yeah, and I guess we can start playing the game now. So Shelley's gonna play it. She was testing it out before. So I'll start with the title. Levedad means sort of like lightness in Spanish, and it's I like lightness because, well, it means lightness in the sense of like being light, like light versus heavy, and that because that's how like after like making the game, like sort of like the experience made me feel. But it also, like in English, the translation is nice because it also like relates to light, and this game is about like capturing light. So that was not something I intended, but I guess has a nice connotation. Yeah. Maybe upload it later. I wanted to. So the way it's like long exposure photography. So it asks like when you press tab and bring up the camera, you get. You can like pick like, well, you like zoom and like all that stuff, but then you also pick your shutter speed, which is in seconds. So right now this is a 1 second like picture, but it can go up to like 30. Yeah, so that's a really long picture. Yeah, and the way this like sort of worked, because I like the class I started this in was like a like intermediate like development class, but I wasn't like very like familiar with like Unity or like coding and stuff, and so I was like playing around with like what kind of stuff could, or like, I like always liked the camera function, like the don't clear after every frame. So I thought it would like that would be perfect to just like maybe like sort of like demonstrate this like sort of like feeling of taking a long exposure camera, long exposure picture. So I tried it basically, and it sort of worked. The only thing I added later was a blur like during that's happening, so it adds like that dreamy feeling. But yeah, it's like it's the way this is like not very complicated because I was just like learning the tool. And the one thing I noticed when I started like making this is that I originally tried to fix this, but like when you're taking the picture, I thought like when you're actually taking a long exposure picture, it like while you're taking it, it like goes back and you can't see anything. But the way I originally did this is that you'd like see it sort of happening, and I tried to fix that originally, but then I realized that it was actually what sort of made the game cool, like seeing that happen. Because not only did it like let you like do like creative stuff, like drawing with stuff with like the stars and like moving the mouse around and experimenting with that kind of stuff, but it also like like for me, it gave the like the process of taking it and like not the process of it building up to this final thing like just as much value as the final composition. Like when I realized this, I realized this was something very important for me, like with this game, because when I used to take these pictures in real life, like I as I said, I was doing it more for like the act of taking than like actually the results of it, or like actually like sharing those pictures. I just like the waiting for it and the waiting for it to like reach this like final composition. And I thought this like just being able to see that sort of demonstrated that pretty nicely. And the thing I also like realized this, so they're like maybe I should talk about this later. There's some like nice effects and filters that are sort of like not I don't tell you, or there's like a thing you can find, which maybe I'll point to it when it's there. Yeah. But as you can see, like the stuff, like the all the stuff around you is changing, and I wanted to have that happen sort of very in the background and very minimally. Like if you're looking for it, you're gonna notice it, and there's like a bunch of like small details, like how like it's like in this change before there was like the Game Boy, and then there's like a phone there, and it's like something about the passing of time, and like the like for me it's like it is like it did result being like sort of autobiographical in the way that it is sort of like about like being like a angsty teenager, I guess, and like like imagining this like this, because there's never like a roof for me that I was actually doing this, but it was like imagining this like sort of like idealizing this act of sort of interacting with the world and sort of like trying to see the world in different ways. And yeah, the music was made by Frankie Pettigrew and Steph Butchko. They were super great to work with, because they were able to do it in a fast, like pretty quickly. And basically what they did is they just like gave me one full song, like, and but separated into like the different stems. So all I did was to put the different stems into different like scenes in the game, or like time periods, I guess. And it helped like it helped me like create like a more focused sort of tone for every single like change in scene, and be like more like it just gave me more free to like be able to craft this like sort of atmosphere I was going for. There's something if you look inside, yeah, and zoom in. Oh no, actually up there. That piece of paper has like you can sort of like walk around, I think. But that piece of paper has a code. So it's basically just like has a number 1 to 5, and so if you take a picture and you're holding 1 through 5, it's gonna like add some nice effects. Yeah, try to maybe like do like a long shutter, and then maybe like look at the stars, and while you're taking the picture, press like any button from like 1 to 5. That's fine. Don't worry. Or you can do it with like whatever. But yeah. Yeah, you can try that again. Yeah, or you can press any of those. So it's like some like small effects that like, I think if you press 5, that's a nice one. but it's like a small effect. And also like for me, like when I added these, I was just experimenting with post-processing effects, and adding those like they created this weird effects that didn't really make sense to like the long exposure. But when I normally like play it now, I just like messing around with those effects, and those effects really change the way you're like thinking about it, because you're I feel like when I'm doing it, it's more about that moment and not necessarily about what the picture is gonna end up being. So if you hold them, it's pretty nice, because then you can like create some nice patterns. But then those patterns change so much that it's like the final product. I feel like the final picture is rarely as good at just the experience of seeing those like build up. Yeah. Oh, and you can actually upload. Yeah, that's another thing I added. What should we name this picture? Doesn't even have an idea. Fingerprints. Finger. Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna, once it finishes uploading, it's gonna, there. So I made this like sort of archive to show honestly, I started the archive because I liked seeing pictures people took, and I wanted to see them when I released it. So this archive sort of exists as like I liked having it separate to the game, because I didn't want it to like impact your perspective on the way you're taking pictures. But if you look outside of it and look at it in this like browser, then it also like gives you like I find that people find that they didn't expect pictures like to be taken that way, or it really shows like a bunch of like different sort of interpretations on the same space, which is something I appreciated a lot. And like having this like community built set of and collection of pictures that are based on like this very basic space, which is super nice. So they're like, and just like like being able to name it also, like I feel at times like it ascribes so much meaning to the picture itself. Yeah, so there's some super nice ones I really like. Yeah, so if you download this game at home, it's already out, you can download it from itch. You can post your own pictures and yeah, contribute to the archive. Yeah, you can go back playing. Oh, when I first made like the first prototype of this version for this class, I like the only thing that was there was the car going through, and I had this because it was also based on these pictures I showed you before from this road trip. So I liked the idea of just seeing like the car. That's one of like the only like dynamic things in the game that like just seeing that move was like super nice. That's why I included that. And yeah, so like there's like, of course, the progression of there's more buildings and less trees, and if you look at the stars later on in the game, they're not as bright as they used to be before because of light pollution and stuff. And I guess that's also like sort of inspired by like where I grew up, because I grew up in a place where I remember when I was younger, I could like hear from my room, I could hear the river because I lived close to a river. And now all I can hear is the highway, because that space has like that location has developed so much, and that did bring like some good things. Like I remember when I was growing up, like that meant some of my friends were closer to me, or they were like did bring some good things, but ultimately there is a lot that is lost by that and by this sort of building. And I wanted to sort of like reflect that in the game, where it does change the pictures you take quite drastically, but it's also like they're not completely like ugly. They're still like pretty interesting to take pictures of. So now I think are you out of pictures? So there's like a limit on the pictures. And if you try to take a picture now. Normally I feel like people don't realize that they finish their pictures or they still want to take it because it changes so much. Yeah, so that's a game. And you could look at all the pictures you took at the end. Oh, yeah, I didn't map the arrow keys, I'm sorry. Yeah, so that's what I had prepared. I can take questions and stuff.
Thank you so much. We definitely have time for a few questions if anyone would like to know more about Levedad or, well, probably mostly about Levedad. Yeah.
Hi there. So I noticed there was like a 30 picture limit, and I'm assuming that was tied to the environment changing, where with each picture the environment would change a little bit. Is it the same 30 steps every playthrough, or is there any sort of randomization to the way the environment is changing?
It's actually 18 pictures until you finish the roll, and it's the 30 seconds is the limit in seconds you can take a picture. But yeah, it doesn't change. It's just every 3 pictures that you move to like a new like time period sort of. Yeah.
Hi, I played this at the North Door a couple of weeks ago. I unfortunately was unable to, like, there wasn't headphones on it, and this actually, it kind of wraps up the whole experience in a different sort of deep dreamlike way. And so I was relying completely on what I was seeing, and I was like, you know, traversing the rooftop that was there. There's like that open skylight with a room inside. And as you take the photos, I kept like kind of glancing down to see what was changing in there, and there was some interesting things happening from like an empty bed, and then a photo I took later, whether it was in there or not, like there was a person sleeping in the bed. Yeah, was there deeper sort of narrative callbacks or references that were sort of personal images for you in creating that space?
Yeah, a bunch of like the small details are very personal in that we were very specific to my life that I didn't think maybe people would like understand, but they just like still like they added to this like sort of like or like an idiosyncratic like perspective on the whole thing. And I like there's a bunch of like the like scribbles in the ground, because I do remember like just like like spray painting where I wasn't supposed to, and like spray painting like just like there's like one on the floor of the roof that's like it's like a sort of like a tag, I guess, one of my friends used to have, and there's also like a lyric from a song from an Ecuadorian band that sort of influenced my thinking around like that time and the time like the frame of mind I was putting myself into. So it is based on like a bunch of specific like, little details like that maybe most people won't get. But yeah.
Hey there. I really, like you, I also really enjoyed the sort of patterns as they would emerge. This might not make sense in the universe, but have you considered like being able to record GIFs or video of those as they happen and be able to play those back later?
Yeah, I did consider that, but I don't know. For me, like the strength of those is that they're the only part of the picture you can't save. Like that progression is a part of the picture that just happens, and it's just like recorded on you. And this is like a game about taking pictures and recording them and then like uploading to an archive. But I feel like for me that was like the most powerful moment, and I think like having some sort of recording would like I don't know, like I think they look nice, but that's like the most personal moment of the game. And yeah, I don't know, I think it's like cool if people did that, but I don't know about like putting that into the game like as a function.
I like that answer a lot, actually.
Any more questions? All right. Julian, thank you so much for bringing Levedad here and
Thank
for
you.
coming here and for telling us all about all the marvelous things that went into creating it. I think, are we gonna empty out the theater at this point? Oh, hang on. Let's do that.
So it's still pretty early in this block. Have we received our checks yet for stuff that has been ordered? We've got a little bit of time. Hey, Natalie, I notice you're in the audience. Do you want to do an impromptu something? Do you have your computer? Is that the cruelest thing that I've ever done to someone? I mean, we've kind of got a lot of time. We've got this block until, we've got like 20 minutes. All right, everybody, welcome to the stage, Nathalie Lawhead.
Should we move or?
Yeah, let's make some room for Natalie if y'all want to go ahead and tear down.
Stay there, but also make room for me.
Okay.
All right, that's what Adam says. I'm going to take this opportunity to once again thank our sponsors this year, Unreal Engine, Devolver Digital, Juegos Rancheros, Ugly Machine, NVIDIA, Annapurna Interactive, 22nd Century Toys, Panic Button, Farcade, Finji, Alchemy Labs, Red Hook, Toy Joy, the Alamo Drafthouse Cinema, and Mondo. How's everybody feeling? Did y'all have a late night last night? We had one like sad whistle, yeah. Yeah, I was sad clown whistling a little bit this morning too, but I feel pretty good now. It's the last day. I don't know, but no, it's good. I mean, this has been one of my favorite arcades that we've had so far, but I have school on Monday, so I'm ready to move on. So we've got, I think, 2 more blocks after this one. We're gonna have Kitty and JW are gonna do minutes. And we're also going to have Tuned Out in that block. That's going to be pretty cool. And then also today, after we finish up in Theater 1, we're going to go down to the Barrel of, I almost said Barrel of Monkeys, Barrel of Fun. And I'm going to get really wasted, and I'm going to put on my gaudy game show host blazer. And we're going to have Spookycade, where we're going to play video games that are presumably spooky. And then we will have our awards ceremony for our most fantastic game, which is some secret cabal of Illuminati that decide which game they like. And then you all, what's that? Yeah, we all collude. But you all get to decide what game is most fantastic to you. If you're not already on our Discord channel, ask me or Adam or Rachel or anybody here, and we will share that with you. And we've got a link on there to voting form. You can vote on your favorite game. And that includes anything that was here, anything that was commissioned, submitted at the party, or created here during one of the panels.
It's early. Yeah, it's still early today, so I give it.
So we didn't think Nathalie was going to be able to do a panel this year, so I've had her on standby, just in case.
Does this work? Oh, it
if
works.
we can get the wireless to work,
Hi,
we're in for a
so
treat. Warm round of applause again for Nathalie.
I could show you Cybertek Graveyard, but awkwardly enough, it's not on here. So I can show you what I've been working on, or oh, here, it works. You can download it. This is the itch page. It's pretty cool. So, Cybertek Graveyard is a haunted directory of folders that contain cyberpets that the world tried to erase because they are too weird. And there's a story behind it. It's super strange, but like the idea was that I really wanted to build an adventure game branching thing with desktop folders and have a bunch of EXEs in it, and you figure out the story. I don't know if it's downloading. It's probably going to take forever. I could talk about it or show you other stuff that I've been working on. So, while this is downloading, I can show you the last thing. So yeah, this is a very unstructured talk. Thank you. The last thing I just finished working on is Electric File Monitor. And it's like a prison industrial complex for your computer, and it scans your computer and wrongfully accuses random files of being viruses or malware, because like it gives you, here's like a log, and it's and it gives you, your virus scanner doesn't feel empowered. Would you like to initiate empowerment? Ignore it. If you ignore it too often, it punishes you by removing financials, and if you're too much in the red, then you can't close the program, so you have to make money in order to be able to close the program. And the worst thing that it accuses files of is if they have made a bad joke, like a pun. This is really bad. So, humorously interacted with folder pictures. Your virus scanner needs more virtual memory. Would you like to apologize? You can place them, once you pick them up from here, you can place them into questioning, the virus lineup, or straight to the dungeon. And if you send them straight to the dungeon, it gives you less money. The lineup gives you more money, and the questioning is kind of cute, where you can question them for, and like they'll give you information about what other files are doing, and that you make more money this way. And it's kind of, oh, there's a riot, shit. If there's a riot because you haven't gotten enough staff, then yeah, there's also, it's just weird systems going on. So like the population gets too high, you have to keep your staff high. And the population keeps picking off staff because it's really desired as a file to be part of your staff because it's a better life and they get paid rather than being an inhabitant in a dungeon. And the point of this actually is to buy upgrades for your dungeon, and you can buy awards and certificates to make the dungeon more prestigious. And the more prestigious the dungeon, the less likely they are to riot, because everyone likes being in a very prestigious dungeon. And the marketing guide is super... Your scanner was insulted. Apologize. The marketing guide is actually a PDF that saves out how to market your dungeon and talk to dungeon press and appropriately, social media following for a dungeon. But it's all very expensive, so you actually have to play this and make money. And okay. You're allowed 99 staff, and you are included as staff, so it's 100 employees. Oh, cool. And the financials are like the core part here, because you want to buy upgrades so you can buy retirement. Yeah, so I'll show you the lineup. It's really cute. You can have 4 files in. Oh yeah, it's cute. Like there's a ton of alerts that pop up. Like sometimes files try to sabotage the scanner, and you can discipline them and send them to the dungeon. Sometimes they try unionizing, and you can break up the union, and it gives you full control over your system. This is shit your files do without you knowing. So now there's a way of you knowing all this. And this is the file lineup. And here you profile files, and the weirder the file is, the higher the financial reward. So, you know, you can pick the weirdest file. It gives you a little compromising permissions, arrest them. And you pick out the file to send to the dungeon, and, oh shit, again. Yeah, it's very nice. If there's a riot, it'll let you go there right away. And if you let them go, it penalizes you, so you have to perform and be harsh on your files. And I like this part. It asks you if you've seen files, and if you say no too often, it gets upset because you're probably colluding. Lying in order to protect files is an offense. So, like, where have you seen it? It's sad. You have to give it joy. And you get money for that. So retirement, I forgot, it's really expensive. Yeah, how's the download going? Oh shit, it's slow. That's basically it on this one. Retirement is like it just completes the scan, and the cute thing is if you've bought a fancy home in a rich neighborhood before retirement, you go broke because you can't afford rent. So this is actually a trap. You shouldn't buy the fancy home. And if you do buy it, then your dungeon automatically riots and all your staff quit because you're like that asshole CEO. Retirement is 15,000. Okay, I'll just try making a ton of money really fast so we can retire. There's cute music to this too. It's probably, oh. There you go. It's very happy. You have to hire, constantly have staff, because if the staff quits, then the dungeon riots immediately. So the point is to keep riots from happening. That's pretty much it on this one. Actually, I might have Cybertek Graveyard in Windows. Oh, okay, I'll try restarting this. Would it work if I restart it and this, okay. Dungeon. Yeah, okay. Because I know I have the graveyard on Windows, I hope.
I know it was a very straightforward project, and it's unlikely that anyone has any questions, but just in case, while we're rebooting into Windows, does anyone have any questions about electronic file monitor? Yeah, mostly made sense. That's what I thought too.
Have you had, what kind of response have you had? Because I know, I mean, there's some history of art games that like actually interact with people's file systems, and are people afraid to install?
One guy was afraid because it might be a virus and it might do stuff to your computer, and Yeah, it's cute because it's all the information is totally superficial. Like, I thought of being mean with it. Like, I could create a folder that's called the dungeon, and if whatever you send to the dungeon literally gets put in the dungeon, but that would probably wreck your computer. I didn't want to do that because I wanted people to enjoy it. Okay, here. I mean, it's important, right? You need to know what your file system is doing, but you can't be afraid of the thing that is helping you figure that out. So it's like a public service, right? Like, and it's free too, so you don't have much to lose. It's not going to do anything weird to your computer, and it's free. Can you see that? Okay, cool. So this is Cybertek Graveyard. It starts with this message from the Data History Foundation, which gives a little background of these different organizations with very long names that ganged up together to, and they're archiving whatever old digital bullshit they find on CDs. And this is a virtual relic from the early 2000s. And the very long abbreviations are important because there's infighting. And they're very excited about this. And they've come to consider it a cursed object, and the one with the larger name does not consider this a cursed object. They're not aligned in their views, so this was a very difficult decision releasing it was a difficult decision to make. But despite that, despite knowing better, and they're sticking to their principles of treating all data the same, they decide to release it into the world, and it warns you not to run this, and they're very sorry, and there's blood on the wall saying sorry, so this is very sorry. So then, the folders are kind of, all of them have a different image in them to kind of, I don't know, give you a feel of the environment of the folder, because like, how does a folder look? Well, you look at the image of the folder, and this is the path to the graveyard. But to me, Cybertek Graveyard is actually not about the graveyard, it's about a country road, so you can go down that, and there's inhabitants, and this is the country road. It's very lovely. And there's different HTML files with like characters that you meet, and some of them are very nice and some of them are not nice. He's very tall for his age, and he keeps growing. And you keep going, and the point of the country road is there's a mansion, and it's really cute. And wait, I'll show you the cave first. The cave is fun. And like, there's a forest, and there's wizards that try to light the path for you, but they're really bad at being wizards, and like, they just, I don't know, make the forest bloom, and it smells nice, but it's still dark, and you can skip all that. And the cave has a bat and a spider, and they're kind of cool.
You found me, I must hide. Oh dear, I feel so exposed. I know how you people feel about spiders, always crushing us. Yes, they crush us hard. They sure crush us, indeed.
So like, he talks about how hard it's
Always
being a
squishing
spider,
us.
and
My poor squishy body, don't you dare squish it. Don't you dare, don't even look at me like that. Nope, not today, ha.
And that's all the spider and bat do, like they walk around and...
Or maybe you will call for help, to have someone else squish me. Yes, I'm sure you're that type. Yes, you are one of those spider squishing cowards. Maybe.
I like the spider a lot.
I can see the headlines already. Local arachnophobe involves police in their mindless spider squishing.
So like, it goes on for a while, and then he closes himself because he finds a place to hide, and the bat's really cute too.
Oh no, I have been disturbed. You found me. You found me out. Damn you, meddler.
And like, the talking is really cute. Like, she's a bat celebrity and doesn't like how humans think bats are ugly because bats are very beautiful. But yeah, I'll close it. Show you another thing. The mansion. The mansion Oh, okay, yeah, this is interesting. So this was like the whole graveyard. I wanted to do something like this for a long time, like folders that are environments and branch out. And it's kind of like a prototype for something larger I'm building. But the interesting thing is, Windows specifically, if you nest too many folders, whatever's in the really deeply nested folders breaks and does not open. So this whole thing, right before when I thought I was done, because on Mac it works beautifully, I tested on Windows and blah. So yeah, but in case someone else does this, be careful not to nest too much because Windows hates that. Like nothing opens in the folders. It was really weird and scary. There's like skeletons hidden around in the mansion, and a fun thing is if you, let's see, where's Notepad? They paste a ASCII skeleton into your clipboard. Unformat it. You have to format it yourself, but you can do this and dance along with it. It's cute. And then they close after they're done singing. Let's see. Oh wait, I like this. Upstairs in the attic is laptop karaoke.
Like my laptop a lot. Yeah, yeah, like my laptop a lot. Yeah, yeah, I like my laptop, ha. Don't you like my laptop just the way I do? I like my laptop. Like my laptop is just sitting on the table looking at me. I like to use my laptop to do all kinds of things, yeah. My laptop is sitting next to my lap. 'Cause if it sits on my lap, it burns my legs so bad. 'Cause a laptop is loading around. I take a lot of memory RAM stuff. And when it's loading, it gets real hot, yeah. I like my laptop sit on the desk, 'cause it can't be on my lap, 'cause it gets way too hot for me. Yeah. I like my laptop, just like my laptop likes me. Yeah.
That was my sister. Oh, the dungeon's really cute. So like you see, there's its environments, lots of weird shit to find, and oh, these are my favorite. And this is really cool. Like all the graveyard, if you run it all at once, it's completely chaotic. I like these because they're really fatalistic and sad.
What is this place? I love you. I am so happy.
You can pick them up and throw them around.
I love you.
And like, I don't know how you feel about spoilers. Are spoilers okay? Does that matter? Yeah. The graveyard came into being because there was an accident at the Cyberpet factory, and all the employees ended up being turned into Cyberpets, and they were all really weird, fucked up Cyberpets, and no one knew what to do with them, so the board of directors didn't want a scandal and whatever happens when there's a mess, and they decided to erase these Cyberpets from history, and they've, recently been rediscovered, but the spoiler is the Cyberpets are people.
If you ask the right questions, they will think you're
What
real.
if I click on Windows?
I have no recollection of my life when I'm
Wait,
closed.
right click. I need to close them.
Where is this? Please never delete me.
I guess there was maybe an update to Windows.
Freedom. We
Oh,
wish
here.
for it.
Yes.
We will never have it. This is all so nice.
No, close, please. Okay. It's cute when you close them, they run off screen and then close. But I'll show you the actual graveyard since you have not seen the graveyard. So these are the Cyberpets. And what you saw, the mansion, was Boogie's mansion, and Boogie is like the data vampire. And each pet has a little description about them, and he eats your data and flies. And you discover the story by interacting with them. Like they'll give you little TXTs and images that they found. Like you tickle him enough, he'll say like, "Oh, I found this important thing a long time ago," and it's a text file of a cry for help from the person that ended up being turned into a Cyberpet. And it's just like their development staff that's all Cyberpets, and they're really unhappy. Gordon's my favorite. He's like a zombie. And like, cute thing too is like you explore the folders and you find that they've been like arguing and fighting with each other. Like Gordon loves chocolate treats. These are Gordon's treats, and they were given to him by the cleanup crew that was hired to clean up the Cybertek, Cybertek Graveyard and hide it. But they really like Gordon a lot, so they gave him a send-off gift. And one of the other Cyberpets stole Gordon's friend. Let's see who stole it. Hobson stole this from Gordon. And like, "Hello, Gordon. Haha, if you want to have this cup muffin cake back and eat it too, you will have to pay me the 3 brownie JPEGs that you promised to pay if I did you that favor. I did you that favor. Please give me the 3 brownie JPEGs that make sure it's red velvet. Thank you kindly, Hobson." And then you find out that he did give him the brownie JPEGs, but he's like, "Haha, I'm not giving you your muffin cake back." And that's why Gordon's throwing up, because he's sad that the muffin cake is gone.
Where am I? Am I dead yet?
That's the muffin cake.
Hello. I see you have opened me.
You can eat it, and then it's gone. And cute thing too is there's oh yeah, I don't want to open these. I won't be able to close them. They're like bones that jump around and laugh. But it's really cool if you open them all because it's very chaotic and lots of laughing and jumping bones. Oh yeah, you can poke up Gordon's puke, and there's stuff in the puke because Gordon eats a lot of people, and you find items. Let's see. Oh yeah, another cool thing is like the email backups give you story about trying to cover up the graveyard, and yeah, so that's how you find out what's happening. It's just poking around and being kind of a detective. Tackle is cool because she was actually in Tetrageddon. It's a repeating character. And she can come and go as she pleases because she's the princess of the ghosts and has transcended. And like she's not there, and you wonder where. And I love these. It's like her selfies. Some of them are like, "Ha ha ha, I'm a thumb, lol, no, don't post this." And you can dig, this is her swamp. She likes it a lot. These are all her own pets. I like, let me see, where's Kermit Klein? It's really cool. You encounter a frog named Kermit Klein. The frog is so handsome. "Good job, frog," you tell the frog. The frog looks at you and nods. "Good job indeed." So yeah, all the HTML files have little cute characters. You encounter a song. It sounds so lovely. The song is named Sproig. It's a popular hit in the single in the swamp. Dungeon, and in the dungeon is Tackle's pet, which is Bob, a basic living human. And he got what was coming to him. And you can read about Bob. No one really liked Bob. He was an asshole, and they're very happy that whatever happened to him. Like, they sent him to contain the ghost, and it just didn't work out, and so cool. This is Bob. Bob has been scared to death. This must be Tackle's doing. Tackle is nowhere to be found. Maybe you should examine Bob for clues. So you can examine Bob and see what he's wearing, and like he has a note, and then, hello, potential haunting victims. My name is Tackle, and all this used to be my folder. This tiny directory used to be my home. Haha, can you believe it? Such humble beginnings. Alas, I have outgrown this place, and am too wonderful and talented of a ghost to stay here forever. Herein you will find my resignation letter. This is that letter. Please do not come looking for me. I am off to seek my fortune. I will be a famous ghost someday. Thank you for your understanding. Yours truly, Tackle. P.S. Please don't feel bad for Bob. He was an asshole and got what was coming to him. Me, haha. P.P.S. I leave in your care my swamp. So, like, that's really cool for you have a swamp now. And in Bob's belongings is a summoning spell. And you can use it, and then there she is. And what I like about them too is like you can just leave them open on whatever monitor while you're doing work, and they'll be just cute pets doing things. Bob's belongings also like include weird clothes that are jumping around and laughing. Yeah, there's a lot of them and a lot of different branching directories here, and art samples. Scrib is like the generic horror movie scribble. Every horror movie has those scribbles. So now you can have it as a Cyberpet. That's Scrib. And close Tackle. Wait. And yeah, the cute thing about it is that this used to be the one of the artists of the Cyberpet team, and it got horribly turned into a very unprofessional scribble. Oh yeah, and like there's a resume of it. His name used to be Carlo Murdoch. This is the resume, and you have art samples. You have my old high school art. So like one of them is this stupid ugly baby. And there's email back and forth where Scrib was trying to join an online art community, and then they were really mean, and wanted to use the baby as their group avatar, and then Scrib is like, Tim, which is the baby's image name, becomes a virus if you set him as a profile picture. Enjoy this virtual disease, you fools, and yeah. I mean, that's basically it. There's a lot to discover, but yeah, that's Cybertek Graveyard.
That's basically it.
Basically.
Do we have time for a couple of questions? One or two questions? All right.
Okay, I'm going to try to ask two small questions into one. With your use of messing with the UI, and you have like moving windows and stuff like that, I was curious if that has affected your ability to sell in like app stores or any sort of like distribution platform that requires some sort of approval. And also, so that was a yes.
Yeah, elaborate. Yes, absolutely. That is very uncool to do, and you should not do that if you want to sell anywhere else but itch. Yeah, that's like a no. Yeah, no, don't, I can't submit to places like that.
And then the flip side of that, in this particular project, you have a lot of folders and like text files and things like that, and it looks like it's very hackable. And I was curious if that's part of the gameplay at all, and if those EXEs, like if you can, recompile them, or if there's any like ability for the player to actually get in there and change what's in the one file structure.
Yeah, it's kind of put together because I was hoping people would mess with it and do their own thing. Like one guy actually collected the skeletons and put in a folder called Skeleton Disco, right? So, I mean, you're supposed to take it apart and do stuff with it. And the interesting thing about this was I wanted to make something that completely blurs the line of where something starts and where something stops on your computer. Like, where does the game start and where does the game end? Like, so what I find interesting about it is like you use what your computer's normal behavior to build a game. And like when you download this, Gatekeeper or whatever thing that protects you on Windows freaks out and you have to open each file with that potential virus warning, which adds to like the graveyard being scary and evil. So like, yeah, it's meant to be torn apart and messed with, and yeah, if that answers your question.
So are the executables aware of the file structure at all? Like, was it Gordon had the chocolate treats and the brownies and stuff? The zombie?
Yeah, I wanted to do that, but at the time I wasn't really sure how or how easy or safe that was to do, so I made the virus scanner to figure out how to be aware of what's in a folder and how to react. But if I were to build on that, yeah, I wanted to do that, where if you would put the cupcake back to Gordon, Gordon would be happy. But it doesn't do that. It doesn't do that right now. I mean, that's a goal. That's totally a goal. Like next, where you move things and you have win states based on what you do.
That's Cybertek Graveyard 2.
Yeah.
Just announced. Sorry, by me. Ladies and gentlemen, round of applause for Shelley Chen, Julian Cordero, and Nathalie Lawhead, who wasn't even going to do a presentation and then did an amazing one anyway. We're going to take a little short break.